maybe in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live on YouTube on the Retriever Connection with Stephen Durrance and Jake Latondras. That's Stephen Durrance, and I'm Jake Latondras.
All
What's up,
day long.
Stephen?
Everything is pandemonium in this house, but we getting it done. I'm tickled to death that we got an opportunity to get back on. It's been 2 weeks.
It
and
has
not
been 2
our
weeks.
number one.
Yeah, I apologize for my absentee ballot last week. I had a shoot with the Express Boats down in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and literally was working from before daylight till after dark and just could not make that work out. So, my apologies to everyone, but here we are. We're back, and we're having some technical issues as usual. Hopefully, we haven't lost anyone. I don't know where my the count number is not up. There's 5 people on now. Uh-oh, here comes a stream. One of our videos is now uploaded. So now we have 2 uploaded. I have 2 more to go, so I'm going to try to upload while we're talking. But I think before we get started, do we need to refresh from anything on the down the shore concepts? Where do we need to begin?
Are you talking to me or are you asking the crowd?
I'm asking you.
Well, there's a lot of good things to go over on this, and I think it's better to for lack of a better way to say it, I think it's better to rehash the tune-up drill and what we're trying to accomplish here, and also how this is going to be able to be amended and move towards more advanced things. So rehashing the concept of a tune-up drill, we always want to run from shortest to longest, from less water to more water, which you did a really good job with identifying this pond you got out here on the point. So where all the lines come together, that's going to be our designated line. That's where you were running from. Each one, so straight across the pond would be your first blind, second blind, third blind, fourth blind, as we go all the way down to the fifth. So the mindset that we're trying to instill here is the dog would rather jump in and swim for the most water rather than the shortest swim. The shortest swim is the most natural. That's the straightest across. And every time we're taking a varying line, a complementary line that is taking the dog towards more water. So this drill is addressing a dog's natural tendency to want to perpetuate the same line he's been on before. So at the beginning of this drill, after you run blind 1, most dogs will want to go to when you run blind 2, they're going to want to run blind 1 again. When you go to run blind 3, they're going to want to run either blind 1 or blind 2. So their natural tendency is wanting to run that straight line, that same line again. And what we're trying to teach them to do is to don't run the same line, run a complementary line, one that is not the same, but is complementary to it. And each time that line is taking them to more water. As dogs get good at this drill, which Tanner's showing you, he's fairly proficient. As dogs get better, you're going to notice that they start gravitating toward the blind that you're trying to run ahead. You know, when you run this blind drill at the beginning, you should run it. Rex Carr said that you should run it no less than 5 times, no less than a week's worth of work. So as the dogs progress, you'll notice they start jumping. You try to run blind run, they're already running blind 2. You try to run blind 2, and they're trying to get ahead of you. That's a good indication, not that your dog is lacking in precision, but that their mind is being directed toward more water, the longer swim, not the shorter swim. So that is what we're starting when we talk about basic tune-up drills and how we modify them or how we set them up to help modify a dog's mindset. Like I said, when you get done with this, most dogs would rather run blind 5 first than blind 1 because their mind is geared towards the end of the pond, towards most water. which is entirely unnatural, and it's exactly what that's the point of training, is we're making the unnatural something that they seek, something that they strive for. How much of this how much of this is starting to gel with you, Jake, and how much of it is starting to are you seeing in a different light now that you've done several of these drills in different places?
Yes, and I think everything that you just said are patterns that I'm already seeing with Tanner. Not to jump too far ahead of this particular uh, drill session, but now I ran it a different one yesterday, and he was anticipating number two after number one. He would come to the line and literally almost line up for the next line, anticipating the next one in progression the way you're describing. So he's definitely getting it.
And this drill, one of my big things that I always preach on is doing the same but different, doing the same concept in a different way. So this drill, we talked a little bit, and I don't know if we need to get you to video a zigzag drill to maybe go and rehash how this applies, how tune-up drills apply. But if you think about all the different steps that we go through, whether they be zigzag drills, and if you would think about a zigzag drill, it's a lining drill, and this would be half of it. There'd be another half running at a diagonal back towards the right. So looking at my cursor, you'd have another. If you take the pond away and just say this is a blank field, you'd have another blind here, another blind here, another blind here, another blind here, and you pick them up outside in. You pick up this blind, then you pick up the outside blind, then you pick up this one, and then you pick up the complementary one on the other side. You're zigzagging your way across. Sir?
I said I get that now. The first time you introduced me to the zigzag, I was picking up lines randomly because I thought the key to that was to not allow Tanner to know which one he's going to pick up. And I did it wrong, but now I understand 100%.
But that's one of the things that we do with young dogs that makes this tune-up drill look more familiar. Another thing we do at the very beginning, we do what's called walking singles. And again, imagine that this pond is not here, and you have a bird boy that's throwing a bird, and he throws the bird to here, and the dog picks it up. The bird boy moves over to this spot and throws another one to here. And each time they throw the mark, they throw to ahead and move on top of the old location to help push the dog from running the same line over and over and over again. This is some of the most basic stuff we do. It's the beginning of dog training. So that we're encouraging them to run these complementary lines before they even realize it. And one of the ways we're helping do that is we're moving the bird boy on top of the old fall to keep the dog from running right back to the old fall. So even in the most basic stuff, we're starting to do this similar concept, run a similar line, but not the same one. We do that in our basic marking drills. And then, and also when it comes to bird boy blinds, in a bird boy blind, again, no pond behind it, guys, just a blank field. This will be blind one, and the bird boy standing at blind two location. The dog runs the blind and picks the blind up, and when he leaves, the bird boy drops one at his feet where he was standing, and he moves to the third spot. And the dog comes back and runs the blind to blind two. When he picks up blind two, the bird boy drops one at his feet, moves on over. And again, we're running the same concept. These are all things that we do before we come to tune-up drills on water. These are all basic drills that help shape a dog's skill, but also sets this plate for when you start getting to water. Water is the great separator here. It's what makes things more difficult because it slows things down. It's a less natural medium. They can't keep their feet under them. It sets them up for success on water. And we're using these same basic applications of all the stuff we've been doing since puppyhood to help set them up to understand to run these complementary lines, not just run the same line over and over and over. Is that Am I making any sense over here,
Yeah,
Jake?
to me, yes, to me you are. I mean, I understand that, and just to more detail describe this, each blind when I ran it was about 15 to 20 yards apart. Um, so
And and why is that? Why is it 15 to 20 yards? Just,
I
I
don't
mean,
know
good.
because you told me
Okay.
to.
Okay. So if you were talking about not, this isn't just when it comes to blinds. Okay. But this also helps when you're talking about 15 to 20 yards apart. It goes back to when we're doing bird boy blinds, and before that to basic marking. So what one of the things that's helping you here, and I know this is going to sound convoluted, but just stick with me. How far, and I'm not talking about once, Jake. I'm talking about if you were doing this on a daily basis, day in, day out, and it was just a good average throw, how far do you think you could throw a full grown mallard drake if you were just tossing it underhanded like a softball,
Probably
throwing birds for dogs?
15 yards.
See where I'm headed? 15, 20 yards.
I got
So
you. I got you. So you're set. I got you. So you're setting them up for what? For a realistic vantage point from a hunt test would be.
Correct.
Okay.
So, well, and if you're thinking about, vantage point, when you're talking about bird boy blinds and running blinds in relations to a gun, one of the things that they're learning is gun blind placement. So you're helping dogs learn how far away from a gun they should expect to find a bird. So
Got
you're not going to do it. Things starting
Okay, I got a question. Okay, because I was just talking to another trainer Monday night about.
how dare you?
I was cheating on you, man. Um, Talking about a dog, his most memorable dog that he's ever trained and why. And one of the things that he said was when he described the dog, he said that dog would come to the line in a test and anticipate left or right. He wouldn't even have to look down, or he wouldn't have to even see the bird because he would identify the brush pile or the blind or whatever the bird boy is behind and know how far it was either left or right. So when Tyler would line him up, he would know he would have to either go left of the brush pile or right of the brush pile, and his dog would know about how far that bird would be from the brush pile. That
Exactly. So now you're starting to learn. I don't want to call it tricks. That would not be a good way
anticipation,
to say it.
knowing your dog,
Well,
right?
they're learning the rules of the game.
Hmm.
All right, guys, y'all got to forgive me. Boone asked me to draw a zigzag drill. I'm trying to give you
He drawing a marijuana
1, 2,
leaf.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's why we need to put another one in there. We're not in Colorado over here, Jake. It's not legal.
Okay, it's a turkey fan.
There we go. So this is a very, very, very elementary, guys. I'm learning how to use this. I just so y'all know, I've been after Jake. I'm like, guys, if I could interactively draw on screen, I could do so much more teaching. And lo and behold, between Jake and my lovely wife, they figured it out. So to answer your question, Boone, this is a zigzag drill. Typically, your long line is somewhere 30 to 50 yards, and the how far you get, your separation here dictates your difficulty. If it's a 15, 20-foot separation, you got a pretty tight one. If you got 10 yards, it's pretty big. But the premise of this thing is you pick it up outside in. I sit my dog down here and I walk out there and let them see me throw each bumper to each location. And I walk back as I'm doing it. And typically, if this is the last bumper I throw, I pick this one up first. And then you pick them up from outside in. So if this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is an example of a 9 bumper zigzag drill. If you wanted to make it easier on the dog, take out this line, take out this line, take out this line, and take out this line. Make it a 5 bumper. You take those lines out, then you got a 5 bumper drill. You got much bigger separation. 9 is usually about as many as I do. You can use white if you need confidence. You can use orange if you want a good challenge. You can use black. I like using black on low cover to set the dog up for success, because they can't see it the way they can see white. It can be confused with other elements in the field, but it's not so difficult to find as orange. But they're really good. I mean, I'd encourage you to use all the colors. You can't do this drill too much. This is a fantastic drill establishing lining concepts. And you can also see, if you take this half, look how it looks like this.
When you
And
first,
it really sections.
I want
I'm
to
listening. Go
mention
ahead.
the first time you described it to me, you called it a Christmas tree when you were describing the shape of it. So it's got
Yeah, a lot of
got an
people call it that
apex.
too.
Okay.
Exactly. These are linear based concepts. You know, again, I'm trying to draw this by hand. This is a linear aspect rather than a arc like you would get when you're dealing with a wagon wheel. It's just a different way to skin a cat is all it is. But again, you can see how this side of it, if you take a side, how it complements tune-up drills and all the other things that we haven't gone into, bird boy blinds, basic marking. It all is based around running gradients instead of running the same line over and over and over again. And I'm going to make this thing go bye-bye just to simplify things a little bit. All right.
All 4 videos. So what we did, I've got 4 videos uploaded, each blind. We omitted the first one because it's so simple. It's 40 yards across. It's actually about 35 yards across the pond, and 5 yards to the bird, 10 yards to the bird, something like that. And the longest swim is about 85 yards on this pond, from where the line is. So we omitted the first one because there's nothing to see there. And then we have the second, third, fourth, and fifth blinds uploaded separately as separate videos, and they've all uploaded now, so we can show these whenever you want, Stephen.
Well, before you jump to them, Jake, one of the points that I made when we were talking before we came on is I said drop your first one because it's uneventful, and it's been uneventful twice. You have the 2 videos that I looked at this week, both times he just swam right across. Now I'm gonna say this a little different. I would want you to jump it, not just or to drop it, not just because it's boring to watch, but because that blind is no longer necessary for this drill that you're running. You don't need to run that straight across. He's already showed you. Not only does he understand it, but he's willing to do it. And you need to take that blind out for, you need to do it if you want to keep running 5 blinds, that's great. I'm not saying that's wrong. But my point is that square swim straight across, he's already showed you. He's more than willing and able to do it multiple times, multiple places. Don't worry about that one anymore.
Okay.
Square swim's the easy one.
He might even actually, I mean, is there a possibility you keep doing? If you hadn't told me that, I would have kept doing it because that's the drill, the literal, literally that's the drill. Can he get bored doing that first one, which would
You're doggone right.
maybe set the pace for the other 4?
Yes. So let's just say you wanted to keep 5 and you wanted to get rid of the short one. You could run this drill. What if you added your next line and made it this?
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got a down the shore on your left, or across the channel and down the shore, and then you got a down the shore on your right. The point that I'm making, I mean, you can change your line. Oh boy, look at here, look at here. You got all different variations, but you can change your lines and start taking some of these out and have a whole different world to experiment with.
Okay. I totally get that.
Now, the other thing to pay attention to here on that last line is he running this because it's a discipline thing, or is he a little too happy running down this bank? A lot of times you'll see dogs, Tanner's a little past it, but a lot of times you'll see dogs when they're running this blind when they're young, they'll run and try to jump in the water and then swim down because they're paranoid about running down that bank.
Mm.
Tanner's more than happy to run down that bank on a pretty consistent basis, but it's just, I mean, you're looking for balance there. Is he happy running down it or not? So
Sure.
that would be a good way. If you axed this blind and added this one in, look how much different your setup now is.
Oh, it changes the dynamics. Yeah, like big time. Especially the second half. The second half of the drill changes things up big time.
Now, one thing Jake also did is his lines were further out of the water. His bumpers were farther out of the water, and that's okay. I got no problem with that, as long as you're making sure your dog's not squaring out and running just square out the pond. You
Hmm.
want to see them hold those angles and hold them out. And on basic tune-up drills in the beginning, I run them right to the edge of the water. As they get more advanced, I'll hold that line out. But they come, there's a blessing and a curse to that. You just got to remember, you got added difficulty when you add that extra distance coming out of the water.
I would say, as I look back, we've run this 4 times now, and I would say that Tanner is holding a pretty good line coming out of the water on these now.
And what I'm seeing too, just I know some of y'all have probably already watched some of this stuff online, is his first, second, and probably third blinds are pretty strong. That four and five are where you'll start seeing him being a little sorry and starting looking at that bank. Part of that's fatigue. Part of that is distance eroding control, and that's another reason to go ahead and axe this first blind, get it out, and put more blinds toward longer swims, because the way that you get them good at 3 and 4 is you get them more proficient at 5 and 6 and 7, and get them to expect the end of the pond more consistently, and they won't be looking to shoulder in and beach on 3 and 4 nearly as bad if they're expecting them to do 5 and 6.
Okay. I'm going to wait till we show the videos, but I've definitely got some casting questions as we get to the
Oh, me
longer
too.
one. You mean questions or advice? Oh,
Yes.
questions for me. Why did you do that? Um, I'll be anxious to see if my questions add up or synchronize with your questions. Why did you do that? Because I'm going to be like, what should I have done?
Well, let's do it.
Okay. I hope. I think this is. Whoops. 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 Hide. Okay.
Look at you. We getting this thing figured out.
We are. Let me back this up just a hair. Wait, what are you seeing right now? Because mine's delayed right now. Hang on one
I
second.
saw him jump in the water. I'm trying, since my other one is hidden, I can make my screen bigger now, right? And that way I can see. Yeah,
You
all
should.
right. This is you on the first tune-up blind drill, right?
Yep. And
You ran it from the same place both days? I'm asking here. I'm not telling.
no, I
So
ran
what we've drawn out, is this the one that you did?
correct.
Okay.
We are on the right page.
All right. So this was blind. This was blind number 2 of
Correct.
tune-up drill number 1 for
Correct.
this week.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. So that's a lot of angle right there, and a step.
And me.
In you, yes.
Okay.
Are we positive this is blind 2 and not blind 3?
No. Let's figure it out.
It just looked like a lot more casting for. Well, you're
Yeah.
definitely pulling
Yeah.
farther there.
Yep. So that's definitely 2. Yeah, this is number 2.
Okay.
Is it playing? I can't hear it. Oh, here
Yes,
we go.
it's playing.
Here we go.
All right, so that's blind 2, correct?
Yep.
All right, so back it up to your casting one more time. I want to, for pretty much after he got in the water about halfway across, I want to talk about your casting.
Okay.
So watch how much angle you give on the very first cast. And this is a consistent thing I'm seeing too. Gave almost the exact same cast with a step. You're not being too erratic. That's more angle, and that was a little bit of hope. And could you say that in your body language? How
Okay.
you turned your head to the right as you cast? That was a much more affirmative cast there.
So should my feet, let me stop this for a second. Should my feet be still?
General aspect of casting. You need to be still until you need to be big. If you're having to cast, if you're having to step on a cast for a 20-yard, 30-yard, this is what, a 45, 50-yard blind? If you're having to step to get that cast, what happens when it's at 150 or 200 or 250? So I'm not a big fan of you stepping right here, especially with an advanced dog. Let it play out, and I'm going to bring back. I want you to bring my screen back up before we move on.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you got it.
Okay. You want me to
All
bring
right.
your screen back up?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Okay. So I got to make this smaller so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. So when you talk about, I'm big about giving accurate cast, right?
Hang on
So
1 second. Go get a cup off. Go get a cup off the microwave. Aspen, go. Thanks. Go ahead.
So there's a dog's got to win on some side, and the problem with you on this blind is Tanner winning in his mind. I'm trying to find a color that would suit this. Okay. So is Tanner winning on this side of your blind? Oh, wait a minute. Still trying to figure this out, guys. Give me just a second. Color. One. Give me this. There we go.
There you go.
So is Tanner winning on this side of the blind? I don't want that vector, people. I want there. So is Tanner winning over here, or is he winning over here? Think about the cast that you gave on this blind.
I gave. I have questions. I have questions about my casting. So
Okay.
you want to go over? You want me to try to answer these questions first, or can I
I
ask?
want you to answer my questions first and see how much this clarifies what you're thinking about.
Okay. Um, he would be winning on the right side of the line, right?
Well, my question here is on the second blind, and this was what was neat, because if y'all will go back and watch, this was tune-up blind 1 or blind drill 1, and he ran in the same spot, right, and ran it again. The second time, go back and watch the difference. But on this blind, you've already run 1. We axed that out. He spent more time on this side of the blind than he did on this side of the blind.
Right.
You gave 3 or 4 right-hand casts on this blind drill, which means that he was thinking about this blind too much.
I'm with you there. Yep.
You follow me so far?
100%.
Okay, so
He never crossed. He never crossed the blind number 2. He never crossed that line.
so blind number 2 looked a lot like, I'm guessing,
Yes. Correct.
something like this.
Correct.
All right. Now, that means he's thinking about going over here too much. He's still thinking this is a natural instinct. Okay. This is him trying to perpetuate. And when you cast, you gave a lot more. When you were casting, you weren't casting at this blind. You, in your angle cast, were actually casting over here. If he took any cast that you gave, he would not have ended up at this point. He would have ended up somewhere in this vicinity
Okay.
because the angle that you gave was so big that he would have ended up at, if he took the one cast and held it indefinitely, he would have ended up at the very least at 3, maybe at 4 or 5. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. You got something you want to ask, I can tell it.
Teacher, hey, I got a okay. I got two questions, and it's wrapped into
Okay.
one. Okay. One is if I gave him a big cast, which I actually thought I gave him a tight cast based on what I thought he would do, which is if I gave him a big cast, how come he didn't take that cast? And two, or 1A or 1B would be the reason I gave him a bigger cast is because if I gave him a right back, then he would have just spun around and stayed on the same line. And I was trying to keep him tight to that line.
You think so, do you? How'd it work out for you?
It didn't work out.
This is good stuff, Jake. This is really great. So 1A, I mean, go back to your first question and restate that, please.
So when if you're saying I gave him a bigger cast than I needed to, then
Correct.
how come he didn't take that cast?
Okay. Because he was exhibiting a natural state of mind. He was, rather than giving you a trained response, he was giving you an untrained response. He was saying, I'm going to go back over here where I have been before. I'm going to go back and I'm going to perpetuate my success and go back to where I've been on blind 1 because I did it once, I did it right, and Mother Nature says do it again.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the shorter swim. The second part of why he didn't take that cast and do it is because he looked down this channel and said, wait a minute, that's a big swim. I think I'll take the short swim instead. He was giving you a untrained, or what's the correct way to say that? It's not untrained. He was just not giving you exhibiting the train response. He was exhibiting the, I'm Tanner and I'm going to do it my way. I want to get it. I want to do this my way. I'm going to find it on my own. Is that?
Yeah. So I felt like he was compromising between 1 and 2. He never went back to 1, but he wasn't going to 2.
Had you never blown the whistle, where would he have ended up?
Between the 2, I think.
And once he got on the bank, where would he have gone?
Left. unless had he
Unless he
winded.
winded it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Or
but
seen
but
it.
but I'm saying all those factors aside, he's going to most likely end up back where he was based off of what he was exhibiting.
Agreed, 100%.
Okay, so your first answer is the reason he didn't take it is because the factors and the drill are exhibiting what they're supposed to be doing. They're showing that a dog would rather swim straight across than take that angle across. Another reason why you need to get rid of blind 1, because he's too happy to swim straight across. Again, y'all go back and compare these videos. The second one was much more polished because these at this point are becoming more familiar. I'm not necessarily going to call them full-blown pattern blinds, but they're more familiar to him. He's going, okay, I remember I've been over here before. So pretty much what he did to you on blind 2 in your second video, if I remember right, he didn't start doing this type behavior until blind 3 or
Probably 4 and
4-ish.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 for sure, and 5 was the struggle.
So to answer your first question, the reason he didn't do it is because the natural thing to do is not that. He's not exhibiting a trained mindset. All right.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted this in yellow, because this right here is not necessarily the mindset we're looking for. So the second part of your question is, if I give a straight up back cast, wouldn't he turn and go on the line that he was on? So for instance, at any point in time, if you had stopped him and given a straight up, let's just say he's on the line right here, just for talking's sake.
Okay.
He's on this line. I stop him and I give a cast, then shouldn't he turn and go straight away? And if I stop him and give him a straight up cast, shouldn't he turn and go straight away? Shouldn't he continue on this line? That was your question, correct?
Yeah. Other than I would interject and say he never got to the line that I wanted him to be on, because when I gave him what I thought would be a straight back, right back, he never got to my line.
Correct.
Okay.
And you were worried if I give a straight back, for instance, right here, when you cast, let's say you stopped
I
him
almost
right here.
gave him an over.
Yeah, but my point is, you were afraid to give a straight back cast because you thought, if I stop this dog at this location, y'all, here's my X,
Yep.
and I give him a straight up cast, then he's just going to continue right here, and
That's
then I'm
what
going
I
to get
thought
another
was going to
cast,
happen.
and then he's going to continue straight up here.
Yeah.
Is this making sense?
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Okay. Now, that's not a bad thought process to have, but now we're going to start talking about winning and losing on this drill. So,
I'm going to answer a question that just popped up. Keep going.
at what point in time, Jake,
Mm-hmm.
does a dog know that you want him to change direction?
At what point?
When you're running a blind, at what time do they know that you want them to change direction?
I mean, without sitting here scratching my head for a second, I don't know the answer to that question.
We've actually talked about this before, but this is the perfect example of why I want to keep coming back and touching on this stuff, because this is, I told you about pouring water in a full glass. A lot of times when you're talking about the stuff, you can only absorb it so much. When your glass gets full, you can't absorb anymore. But when you're running Tanner on this blind that you just ran him on, when did he know that you wanted him to change directions from where he was towards this line over here? Don't overthink this.
When I gave him an angled back.
Absolutely wrong. 100% wrong. Try again. At what point in time? Thank you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
So when you blew the whistle, you were telling him to change destinations, yes?
Yes. So when I blow the whistle, he turns, treads water, and he goes, okay, what direction does he want me to go?
That's correct.
Okay.
So your cast is an affirmation of change. Your whistle is when he knows that he's supposed to change direction, because, as I've said many times, all good dog training when it comes to retriever work is predicated around a dog having a positive response to a pressure or perceived pressure situation. A whistle is pressure. It's mental pressure. It's not heavy pressure. It's not mean pressure. It's just mental pressure. The whistle tells him to change. The cast just affirms that change.
The cast is the direction. The whistle is the indicator saying we are going to change directions right now.
Correct. So going back to our first whistle set, this is something I really want you to pay attention to, because it's gonna sound kind of funny, but I want you to understand what we're doing here. Your first whistle set, the one thing he can't do is turn and go straight away, go exactly straight away on the exact same line that he was going on. He cannot do that and be exhibiting a trained response in this case. If he turns around and goes exactly straight back, he didn't modify anything. He just hit the pause button on his action. You with me so far? So I'm gonna draw a line over here. I'm gonna draw a line over here just for teaching's sake, okay?
Okay.
So if he's swimming on a line, and you stop him at any time and give him a cast, if he stays on the same line, in his mind, he didn't modify anything.
Oh.
He just paused.
Okay.
So he should, if you give a straight back, he should at least give you this.
Okay. So then if I gave him 4 straight backs, he would be at a 20-degree angle from where we started. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying now. So each whistle.
Think of it like cutting a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
No, I'm
You're cutting
with
a slice of the pie off every time.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So the first whistle would be okay, we're changing directions. If I give him a straight back and he will straight back, then he did not follow my instructions because when I first whistled, he knew that I was going to change directions. So no matter what I give him, he should change directions from that original line.
Correct.
Okay. I'm
Correct.
with you.
You with me on this? Now you're starting to put this together. Now you see why I wanted to be able to draw this out right there in front of you? So going back to what we said, let me back that out. So let's say that he gives you a directional change and gets to here, and you stop and give a straight back again. It should be a little bit more. And then, so this is what we were talking about.
It's walking up steps.
One of the hardest things you can do, one of the hardest things to do with a trained dog that is really trying, is to get a perfect straight back. Because in their mind, you should have never blown the whistle if you wanted me to go perfectly straight back.
I get that 100%. Why would you?
Exactly. So
why would you correct a dog doing something right?
Exactly. So now you can start understanding the way they're seeing it. So when you come over here, and I'm going to redraw this line just because it's driving me nuts. So when Tanner's running over here, wherever he is, and you stop him and you give him a cast, he better give you something other than straight back. Because straight back is Tanner's cast. Think of it that way. Straight back is Tanner getting what Tanner wants. A directional change is Tanner trying for you.
Okay. This is the biggest question so far. If he does not, if he gives me a straight back, what do you do now? How do I correct that?
All right, couple ways. You can stop and bring him back to where he was. That's the meanest thing you can do to Tanner right now, is not let him make progress into the hole. Okay. Pull him back to where he was and give the same cast again. And when you do that, what's going to happen is he's going to give you a cast probably this way. Honestly.
I know.
What you laughing at?
Because I can see him doing that right now. Uh-oh. You froze up.
To come back. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
So why are you laughing about that?
Because I can see him doing that right now. And then if he did that, then what?
But what's happening right here, going back to our conversation about a dog's internal arrow, his arrow is pointed, when he's running over here, it's pointed too much towards this and towards blind one. And when you continue to have to cast him away and he doesn't make progress, you're not combating his arrow. So pulling him back weakens that response. When he realizes that you won't let him make progress to where he wants to go, he's going to all of a sudden be a lot more susceptible, because you won't let that arrow get stronger as he goes away from you, because every time he does the wrong thing, you're pulling him back to you. That
So
makes sense?
yeah. So another question. So you handle him in water just as you would if he were on land. Is that
Very
the
similar. Yes, sir.
okay? So
Now, this is also the very good application to use in suburbia, because this is attrition. This is not letting him get what he wants. The other thing that you need to be well versed in is once he gives this to you, and you can go, normally for me, when I use collar pressure, it's freebie, then Nick, then something escalating. If the third correction comes in, it's going to be a higher Nick or a continuous if it is the same cast being refused. Just like we talked about down the shore work. If they're continuing to refuse the same cast, then I'm going to keep escalating pressure. If if they know that they know, if I know that they know. So if he digs back on you, I'd quit the freebie with him most of the time, especially if this is a drill he's run more than once. But you just use a nick with the collar around your whistle. So it's tweet, nick, tweet. You make sure he hears it, feels it, hears it. In his mind, he didn't hear two whistles. He heard one really long whistle with the nick in between. So the nick was on the eye of nick, tweet, nick, tweet. And then you give the exact, here's the thing too. Please listen to what I'm saying. Don't change your cast. Don't give a straight up cast and him refuse you, and then give a 45-degree cast to try to get him back on. I
okay.
want you to make him give you more directional change out of a cast, not less.
Every time we do this,
Do
Steven,
this.
I want to like take my headphones off and go out to the pond and do it right now. because I because it starts making sense. Because when you're out there doing it, you're like, I think I'm doing it right. And then when we run a fine tooth comb through this and get all the lice out of my hair, I realize, okay, now I didn't know how to do it, and now I know a little bit more about how to do it. So it gives me another tool to go and go, okay, well, that's what I did wrong. But I didn't know what to do at that point. But I also didn't know that I was doing anything severely wrong either. So, and at some point, maybe when we get to a long one, what I want to do is watch the video and have you simulate you at the line and have you go, you know, give a signal and then watch his reaction and then say tweet Nick tweet or and go through it as you watch me make my mistakes and
Okay.
then
So
watch you
actually
go
talk you
through it.
through the corrective measures is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
We'll get to that if I ever get you on board with how you need to actually cast on this drill.
Yeah.
So, you're with me so far as understanding now. The dog should give you some directional change, some difference in destination based off the first cast you give, right?
Correct.
In this case, there's a right side and a wrong side. And for me on a tune-up drill, I'm going to say something else that we talked about. I said when you start these tune-up drills, they start as casting drills and they end as lining drills. That's one of the things that we talked about. Also, I said that when you begin these drills, you will start with right-hand cast predominantly. In this case, you will use more right-hand cast. When you finish with these drills, you will end up doing more left-hand casts. Why are we doing these things? So at the beginning, when the dogs are doing the wrong thing, we're going to end up doing right-hand cast because the dogs are going to be on the wrong, they're going to be on the land side of the line that they are going to. In Tanner's case here, he was over here, and then it went downhill from there, and you changed your angles. Where I would have liked to seen you do is catch Tanner here and give almost a straight up cast. Tweet, straight up cast. So that if he doesn't give you what you're looking for and gives a straight back or not enough change, stop and give the same cast again. till he gets frustrated and says, forget it. You're giving me a straight up. I'm going to go over here. Guess who won at that point?
Okay. So that's another one of my questions that I'm standing at the line is how far off, because and this may sound silly, but this is what I was thinking, right? This is the honest truth here. Hey, can you guys hold it down, please? Um, how far do I let him go offline before I blow my first whistle? And let me tell you what I was thinking was, okay, well, I need to let him get offline a little bit so I can make a correction. So I probably let him go too far before I blew the first whistle. I don't know. Excuse
Well,
me
the
one second.
answer to that is
Hey,
it depends.
please. Hey, you guys are gonna have to go upstairs if you don't keep it down, okay? Sorry about that. Can you guys hear
um,
them?
oh yeah.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, go into my room. Go in my room. Yes, go in my. No.
So to answer Mr. Andy's question, Andy said, isn't there some situations where the dog slows and you need to whistle, sit, and give a strong straight back to tell him he needs to keep going further straight back? If so, then this would be confusing if you typically always expect a direction change when blowing a sit whistle. Mr. Andy, you're absolutely right. If you sit a dog, are you not actually reinforcing the lack of momentum that the dog is exhibiting? So the point that I'm making there is you're correct, but your application is wrong. Sitting a dog that's slowing down on its own devices is actually reinforcing their loss of momentum, where you would be much better off to just say back without ever stopping and letting in route. That's called in route force, pushing the dog with your voice without stopping them and urging them on without sitting on the whistle, so you theoretically don't get as much directional change. Did that make sense to you, Jake?
Yeah, it did. I did. It actually kind of
Okay.
reminded me of that drill we were talking about the other day.
Yep. I wouldn't disagree with that. All right. So back to your blind concept. The answer to how far should I let the dog go offline depends on what side of the line they went to. If I'm running blind two and they come and jump out here, I'm going to let them go a whole lot farther than if they're over here. This goes back to what I was about to tell you. There's got to be a side that a dog can win on.
Okay.
So on blind two, yellow is not the side you want to be on. You want to be on the go side. So
Hmm.
when a dog starts choosing more water, I'm going to let them swim as far as I can to the point. Let's say he jumps in and you're trying to run blind two, and the dog jumps in and just swims to blind three. At that point, don't run blind two.
Ah,
Skip it,
so let him.
because
So
the
let him get.
dog showed you I'm willing to go to more water.
Okay. There, the next time I ran this drill on the other pond, I made a mistake because I think he was going after number 4, and I stopped him. I casted him back to number 3.
And that's it. And if it's kind of gray, it's one thing. But when you see a dog just totally say, that's not it, and jump,
What?
the you got to say what's more important: gaining a mindset that's based around water, more water, or precision. And
Actually,
remember, one of the
okay.
momentum,
Go
always choose momentum over precision.
ahead.
And
Hmm.
in this case, momentum is directed toward more water.
And I feel that when I'm out there, that I feel that momentum concept when I'm out there. I think when I made that correction was because he was about to get up above number 4, and I knew he was going to wind it, and I didn't want him to wind it and then go right to it. I wanted him to
Mhm.
pick up number 3. So that's why I did that.
Just understand that there's a good and a bad side
I
that
get
we're
that
talking
now.
about. And when Tanner's playing on the land side of the blind, that's not where we're looking for. We're looking for their mind to start being directed toward more water.
Okay.
You
I
with me
get
so
that.
far?
Yep, I
Okay.
totally like that. That clears a lot up.
All right, now I'm going to confuse you for some more. You ready?
Perfect.
I want you, when the dog is on the left side of the line, when they're on the land side of the line, I want you to give less angle than what would be even necessary. So if you needed a 45-degree cast to get online, and I'm just using that for ease. I don't
Sure.
want you to get 45 degrees offline.
No, I
I
totally
would
understand.
rather you give a 30-degree cast than a 45. Get 45 out of 30. Don't make them give you more change rather than less.
Okay. And I'm
When
struggling with that.
if you weren't, I would be concerned that you're not getting it. So my point, and I'm trying to get centered, guys. We got some changes in the house. I don't know if y'all can hear the puppies over here whimpering, but I've actually got a litter of puppies a whopping 2 feet away from me. So, all right, change hands. So if I want a straight back cast, or if I give a straight back cast in training on this drill, I want them to give me this. If I give them this, I want them to give me that. I want them to give me more angle than I'm asking for, because one, that shows it in this case. If you look on your diagram, if you're giving a right hand cast and the dog is giving you this response rather than this response, do you see how
Oh,
much more?
he's getting the concept that I want him to change directions, not just, you know, not just
And
running.
change directions in a specific area.
Right.
And what you're going to start noticing when you is here's the other side of it. If you have to give this cast, the yellow line, to get this is going to get confusing. Let me swap over. Oops, I lost the line.
You really want to go down that road with me, Walker? I don't think so.
So get back to your drill. All right. So get back to my pencil and I'm going to draw you another theoretical blind over here. That's away from this line. So
Okay.
this can be a talking point. So I don't like that one. I want to change my line a little bit. I want to put this one over here. So this is the same concept, just the other way.
Hmm.
So if Tanner's on this side of the line, I want you to give less angle and make his mind move to this side of the line. You with me on that?
Hmm.
So if I'm over here and I do a whistle sit and I whistle sit him right here and give him a straight up cast and he moves to the line or past the line, that means that he's actually trying to modify his behavior. If I give a straight up cast and he digs right here, that's no good, right?
Right.
So my point is, let's say he splits the difference and goes right here. If you have to give this cast to get this response, you're never going to get to where you're going. You're never going to get to where you need to be, because the more excited he gets, the more he gets to the bank, the more he's going to dig to the bank, and the more you're going to lose him.
Yep.
I want you to be able to give this cast and get this response.
You want less is more, not more is less.
Correct. And this is the mistake people always make. They overcast their dogs. They give this cast to get this response.
And yeah. So you end up getting this
Mhm.
instead of
Coming across the
that.
line.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. That and I man, if I mean, had we not had this discussion right now, I would have been doing that the rest of my life.
So We talked about how to cast. Now we're talking about the precision of it.
Hmm.
So my point there, and this one line is driving me
Can I go
insane.
back, Stephen, while you're doing that? So
I'm listening.
for me to get more out of less, I need to stop him and just keep giving that straight up back cast until he's frustrated enough. I mean, theoretically, if he's frustrated enough until he gives me what I'm asking him to do.
Yes, or you can start adding a little bit of attrition pressure, tweet, Nick, tweet. But don't let him keep making progress. Keep fighting the fight
Okay.
and don't change your angles and get really big. Don't give an over to get a 45-degree angle change. That's not what we're looking for.
Right.
I'm looking for him to get mad. And if you're giving a 10-degree change, I want him to give you 20.
Right. Okay. I'm totally with you 100%.
So get more out of less.
Right.
Now, here comes confusion again. When you're on this side of the line, I want you to get more out of less. When you start knowing that you're really, really winning is when they start fighting to this side of the line. And here's the second part. You have to give more because you're getting less. When you start left-handed casting and you can't make it to this line because they keep trying to go this way, it's okay to give more angle toward the bank if they are trying their best to fight away from it.
Does he not if let's just I'm not confused, but I'm looking I'm if I'm Tanner, I'm going, "Wait a minute. Now, he just asked me for more. He just forced me into giving him more for less, and now he wants me to go give him less for more."
Yes,
So what
there is an
so
overwhelming concept here. I'm about to make things clear for you,
okay.
but this is you're going to go, holy moly. You
Okay.
got to be kidding. But the reason it's okay to give more angle is at this point, let's just say in theory, Tanner gets stopped right here and he's not in the right mindset. He just happened to be on this side of the line. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And you give a left-handed cast and he's not in a trained concept mindset. He's in Tanner's mind. When you give a left-handed cast, where's he going to go?
If I give him a left-handed cast, where's he gonna go? He's gonna turn to his right and keep going for more water? Okay. I was trying to play reverse psychology.
Yeah, you're trying to get ahead of it. My point is, if he's not trying and you give a shore side cast, he's going to go where?
Back to number one. So
Back to the shore.
and so
Number
so
one is number one compounds that, but they're going to go back to the shore. Kendra, thank you.
so at that point where you're the green line is, if he's not in the right mindset, he's doing the same thing he was on the wrong side of the line. Just on the
Hey,
other side. Okay. The
yeah,
same
which means he's
mentality.
going to end up going to the bank.
Correct.
Now,
Okay.
and so by now play your reverse psychology. If he's in the right mindset and you cast him towards the bank, what's he going to think? Now go back. You were on the right track.
Then he's
When
gonna
you cast him
spin the
towards the
right
bank,
direction, but he's gonna keep digging for more water in the
here's
right
where you got
mindset.
to understand on a dog's mindset. They got to have a side to win on. They got to have a good side of the blind.
I get
And
that.
when they start choosing the water side, then the answer must be on the water side. And when you tell me to go to less water, either you're setting me up for failure, something's not right here. That's when you start see them giving you cash refusals to stay in the water, that shows that they are exhibiting a trained mindset. And that's when it's okay to make your cast bigger, to make things that are inherently gray more black and white.
10-4. I got that. So let me just make this clear for myself and other people because I think I got it. The winning side is the side where you're saying I'm going to allow that because he's trying, he's doing what I asked him to do. And I don't want to stop that momentum yet because that's a trained response that I was asking for. When he gets too far out of line, give him a bigger cast angle back to the left because that is much more clear than a straight back, which I was trying to get on the wrong side of the line.
No, back up. When you say the winning side of the blind, that is you understanding it, but that is the dog picking it. That is the dog understanding that danger and poor decisions follow going back to old spots. So I'm going to choose a bigger slice of water because that's where he's going to end up telling me to go anyway. I'm going to go ahead and be safe and take something bigger.
Right. So the right side, left side is uncomfortable. Right side is comfortable.
Right side means that I'm going to have less pressure put on me, not physical, not electric, mental pressure pushing me back. So they got to choose. They're one side or the other. And when you start seeing them actively choose the water side, that pushes their mind this way. And when that mind, that internal arrow pushes to the right, pushes to the water, you're going to have to push it. That's exhibiting an unnatural response, that's why it's okay to give a bigger left-hand cast on this drill if they're fighting to stay in.
I got it. When you're asking, if you're a coach or a quarterback, and you tell your wide receiver to give you a fading fly to the right corner, and he runs a post, then you call him back and you say, no, 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 no. That's a post in. I asked you to give me a fly with a fade to the right. And if you go straight down the sideline, okay. Or if you lean to the right a little bit, okay. But if you're coming in towards the safety, you're gonna cause me to throw an interception. I want you to go right. Is that
Correct.
a good analogy?
So,
Okay.
so yes, and going back, look back to your gray line blind, and I know it's the flip side of it, but
I get it.
when the dog gets to the water side of the line and is trying, if we get a whistle sit and a directional change and the dog's trying, he's going to choose something in this vector, and you got to give a bigger angle change to get this. So at this point, if this is the cast you're looking for, it's okay to give this to get this because it's the absolute opposite of what's happening when the dog's doing the wrong thing. You got to look at the dog's mindset and what he is trying to achieve and how he's trying to achieve it. And when you start seeing him actively choose what you are choosing or what you are challenging him to do, then you got to reward that choice. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, it's confusing, but I understand what you're saying.
So let's go back to this, and then I'm going to connect a couple dots for you, and you're going to go, oh crap, you really got to be kidding me. When the dog is on the, let's take some of these lines out to make this even clearer. Give me a second. Head here. We're running a blind. Okay. When the dog is on this side of the line, that's, based off this drill and the other blinds that are there, this is the unschooled part. This is the dog that's trying to go back to where he's been before or take a shorter swim. This is the good side of the line. This is when the dog's actually choosing more water and also trying to not go back to where it's been before. So you can think, we talked about black and white on the down and short concepts. This was, one color. This is the other. And they're trying to stay away from gray. So if this is not good, if black's not good, I'm going to choose white. If white's not good, I'm going to choose black. I'm going to get that to the polar opposite and try to start getting away from all this funny, funny destinations, funny lines. So when a dog's over here and is really trying, it's okay to give more cast toward the bank to get a directional change, because they are trying, their mind is trying to keep them over here. I don't want to go over there, Dad. So it's okay to give a greater directional change to get response, because they're trying to be over here. That being said, dog's on the lesser side of the line. Back to this. Back to this. Dog's on the lesser side of the line. If you're giving huge directional changes, if that's the cast that you're giving, and this is the cast that you're getting, how you ever going to get this cast? How you ever going to get that cast? If you have to give this cast to get this response, you're never going to be in a good position. But if you give this cast and get this response, now this is an extreme example, you can get to your destination getting that, because he's going to come over here and you cast and he comes over here and you cast and he comes over here and you cast and he comes over here. You can get there with too much directional change, but you can't get there with not enough. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because the other thing to remember, as a dog gets more excited, as a dog gets more bold, as prey drive gets involved, as the excitement of a competition gets involved, if you get this cast in training, if you get this cast out of if you give the yellow line and get the brown line, you're going to get, when they get more excited and that arrow gets stronger, you're going to get the yellow line out of test, not the brown line. But if you get the yellow line out of a yellow line cast, when they get into an excited situation, you're going to get this line. You looking at me puzzled? If you train for yellow and you get yellow in training, when their internal arrow gets stronger, it's going to pull them away. But if you train to get brown out of yellow in training, you will get yellow when you give yellow at a test.
I see what you're overcompensating for what you're going to get in an excited
You're
scenario.
training for a dog's response in an excited situation, not in a controlled situation.
Yep, I got it. So why?
That being said, you jump back on this side of the line. Let's say you're in a competition, you get on this side of the line and you tell a dog to get out, you think they're not. All that more casting toward the bank, you can give more casting in training. Guess what? At a test, you cast toward the bank. That's where they going, big boy, because they're more excited. Because their arrow's stronger, they're bolder, and they're going to give you more. Everything's going to be more precise if you train for better compliance in training. If you train for, I want this cast perfect all the time, you're not going to get perfection in a test or in an excited environment, because that arrow is going to pull them. That internal arrow that I'm going where I want to go and I'm going to get there how I want to get there is going to pull them towards natural concepts, which is square the water, don't stay in, run the bank.
Okay.
I know I'm throwing a lot at you.
Well,
but that's why I wanted to be able to
draw the diagram.
Draw it right there in real time. So let's try to clarify a little bit. You ready for this?
Sure.
Now, don't this look like something else we talked about? All right. Let's call this a down the shore water blind.
Okay.
Now, Jake, what's the good side and what's the bad side?
The good side, if which way you're running from.
It don't matter.
The water side is the good side. The other side is the bad.
Correct. Correct. The water's the good side. So in this case, for illustration's sake, you'd be running from here and running to the end. The good side's always water. And when they cross over, we know and give, the illustration we talked about on doing down the shore work is when they go to get out. Make sure I'm on the right thing. We're going to do a whistle sit. We're going to cast them back across the line. We're going to do another whistle sit. And then we're going to cast them at the bank with a verbal and expect them to turn and stay in the water because their mind is in the water. If they go right back over here, what we're going to do?
Cast them back.
No. If the dog comes over here, we say no. We cast it across. The dog stops here, and we give it a verbal back, and it comes right back over here. What we're going to do next?
What are we gonna do? We're gonna. Are you writing the answer?
It's a no.
No. Okay.
I
See,
can't do that.
I see.
Remember, this is down the shore classic example. They come back, no, cast them back across the line. Verbal left hand back in the water.
See, I
And
would
if
be
they stay in,
confused
great.
I would be confused there because I would have thought a no overcast would have been a swim by engagement, but he doesn't have the bumper in his mouth.
Jake, I don't want you to feel bad right here, but everybody that knows half a thing about dog training and has watched all these videos is snatching their hair out because they're like, we talked about this. This is, remember where I did all the diagrams. When the dog goes and beaches, we tweet, no, cast them over, tweet, and then we roll them back on the line with a left-hand verbal because a left-hand verbal means stay in the water. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
So they go back to the bank, again, tweet, no, Nick, cast them straight back over. Left-hand verbal back again. And if they choose to stay in, that's great. If they do this right here, that's great. As long as they choose to stay in the water, that's great. Mm-hmm. Just don't keep going back over here. Don't keep going because we're going to keep casting you across the line and then giving you a verbal cast toward the bank and asking you to stay in.
I mean,
so he comes back.
Yeah, at some point he's saying, man, if I go back over there, I'm going to get that again.
Correct. And they're getting frustrated. And so what's happening is, let's say, he progresses on, gravitates over here, says everything's good. You may even cast him. And he says, oh, get out again. Tweet. No. Send him back across the line. Tweet. Verbal back toward the line again. Remember, we talked about this. This is the down the shore application. Mm-hmm. When he goes over there, tweet, no, straight over out in the water. And then you're developing that verbal cast towards the bank means stay in. And silent cast towards the bank means you can get closer. But I also mentioned that you can't do this drill, one, if you don't have tune-up. I mean, if you don't have swim by in place to get that. It's not swim by, but there are remnants of swim by in his mind when we say no, over, and cast them across. He knows that no means what, Jake? What does no mean to him?
No means get back in the damn water.
More water. Take water. Don't get on the bank. More water. So that no means more water. We're casting them out and we're rotating and we're giving that verbal back and asking him to stay in. So every time that he tries to get out, we're going to stop him and cast him straight out in the water. Mm-hmm. Because I said you got to have two things in place. You got to have swim by to be able to get a straight over out in the water. And you should also be able to get this cast, instead of giving a straight over, you need to be able to get this angle cast off the bank at any time. You derive this cast from tune-up drills. That more water angle, take that and go. You derive this big angle cast. If I was running this in a test, I would have given that angle cast to get them back in the water. I wouldn't give a straight over. When you're giving the straight over and giving a rotational back cast toward the line with a verbal, you're developing a cast. You're schooling a concept. But in tune-up drills, you're developing a mindset, which means if I cast you away from the bank, take away from the banking, go. So to go back to your tune-up drill, back to this. Let's revisit. We got Jake here. Oops. We got Jake here. We got Jake here. We got Jake here. We got Jake here. Okay. So to go back, I wanted to maintain this down the shore line. Don't kill me. Back to your tune-up drill concepts. What's the good side to be on? Right side of the line, left side of the line.
The water side.
The water side. And when I give you a cast and I'm giving you a smaller angle and you're fighting and giving me more, we're developing, giving a good angle cast away from the bank and teaching that dog that the water side is the good side. So how could you make this drill more difficult? Let's just assume that this pond is long and narrow, like the other one we got a picture of. If you move this line to right, if you move this line to right here, how much difference does this drill look when you draw your lines?
They're more acute.
Exactly. So what happens if you move it to right here?
They're even more acute.
Exactly. And look at here.
Oh, I see. So I mean, the confusion for me, Stephen, and I totally wiped my mind blank is, the concept of deriving one thing from another, because I switched gears and I probably shouldn't have. I just didn't. I wasn't putting the derivative together.
In deriving from tune-up drills to down the shore?
Correct.
Exactly. So this is what I want you to understand. One thing, we're undertaking something here that obviously has never been done, to try to have an interactive learning experience based off a dog that already understands the concepts and helping translate that to you and getting you a better understanding. And by so doing, help other folks understand. Fancy, stop. Helping other folks understand the concepts behind the training what we're doing, and that there's a greater goal to strive for, and understanding how we can take these drills and derive them into other things, and they turn into down the shore work. I want one of your homework assignments is go back and look at the down the shore concepts that we talked about. When they go to the bank and we tweet, no, cast them straight over out in the water, and then verbal toward the bank and what that means. And then I want you to come back on your tune-up drills and start learning how to get more out of less. When the dog is left of the line, you shouldn't be giving increasingly bigger casts. You should be picking a cast and making him give you a bigger angle rather than allowing him to keep digging left and you fighting and giving a bigger cast. So even if he continues to go offline, you can stop and bring him back if you need to. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I really think it's going to do you a lot of good. And keep making him give you more casts. You'll see it, and he'll do it pretty quick, because you'll stop him a couple times and he'll go, wait a minute, Daddy's learned a new trick.
Yeah, I'm anxious.
Daddy just figured out how to call me on this bad behavior.
Yeah, I'm anxious.
And all of a sudden you're going to see a bigger angle change.
Because I looking back, my frustrations came like, man, I keep giving him what I thought was a back. It was more of an angle. I just need to learn, like, this is back and this is an angle. And so
Correct.
when I was giving him this angle, I was getting this, and I was getting frustrated because I'm like, where do I have to back up to get what I'm asking him to do? But now I understand I didn't have to back up. I just needed to keep calling him out on it until he finally figured out, well, he ain't gonna let me go anywhere until I give him this.
And now you're going to be introduced to a whole new Tanner. And that's not even me being funny. That is just the truth.
You mean a new Tanner or
I'm saying Tanner's going to go just like before. Just like how many aha moments have y'all had when I said, going all the way back to correct him for sit and correct him the right way for sit. And you said he just totally acted like a different dog. Like, oh my gosh, this guy holds the keys to obedience. He will give you the same response when you start giving these appropriate casts and holding him accountable to those appropriate casts. That's the big thing. Holding him accountable to it.
Yeah,
That's just
that. I think that's the big picture is when Tanner realizes that I'm gonna hold him accountable to everything. That's because right now he knows I'm not holding him accountable enough, and he's getting away with it.
you got
So,
it.
hmm
You're 100% correct.
fixing to go put him in a figure four right now. I'm gonna put him in an arm bar.
Jamie said we get more cast out of using a no hands back cast and make the dog choose the water. I'm not 100% there. That either I'm not understanding what you're saying, or you're getting something that if you mention this, the top of Jake's head's going to blow off.
Well, so
And
what I'm getting out of that is going back to you talking about the momentum in a in a back without a cast. I think that's what he's saying. I mean, I don't I don't know how that applies to what you're saying, but I think that's what he's saying.
a
So
no hands back cast is when you literally don't use your hand.
you
And
just sit back.
typically what you use there is you're giving the dog the freedom to rotate either way, but you're not typically going to get a bigger directional change. A no hands back is the closest way you can get to getting a true straight back cast for the dog that's trying, because they're not giving you're not giving them a target. You're not changing their mind with giving a hand signal. So it can kind of default roll them into a straight back cast. Does that make
Why
sense?
would you do that? Why or when would you do that?
Let's say your dog's got a loopy sit and you sit them offline and they loop and they sit down directly on the line.
Oh,
So they really do need to go straight back. They
okay.
didn't sit, it's not a perfect world. They didn't sit straight immediately. They looped, 5 feet, 10 feet
So,
to the right, and they ended up sitting dead straight on the line.
so that's a
That's one.
spontaneous reaction on the handler's part based on where he ended up on the whistle sit.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's not spontaneous, it's planned in the sense that you're giving a back because if you give a hand signal, they're going to probably change too much.
But what I'm saying is, if you're blowing a whistle and he loops and sits, then if you were making a decision on your initial whistle reason for a whistle, and he looped and sat on the line, then you make that decision to give a no hands back because you
Correct.
want him to go a straight line. Okay, I get that.
There's other things, there's other applications, but that's probably your most
Basic.
vanilla.
Okay.
Yeah. So, um, back to I'm checking my boxes here. So understand. So yeah, how do you make a loopy sit? How do you fix it?
I'm glad somebody else asked that question.
Again, it's about standards, and you got a lot of things that you got. There's a lot of reasons. If you come to my seminar in a couple of weeks, you will hear me say that there are 3 types of dogs, and only 2 of which that we're going to discuss. The one that we won't discuss is the one that does not stop on a whistle at all. But the other 2 types fall into 2 different categories. One is a dog that sits when they hear the whistle start blowing, and the second is a dog that sits when they hear the whistle stop blowing.
That would be Tanner.
And that is only because you are allowing that. And it goes back to the collar. The collar is not about the severity of the punishment. It's about the certainty of being caught. And if you will elevate your standard towards, I'm not going to sit here and give you 12 steps to slow down. I'm going to give you 2, and then I'm going to tweet Nick tweet. All of a sudden, he'll start sitting a whole lot quicker. He, again, is operating within the confines that you are placing him in. And he is going to take his maximum advantage of that as he possibly can. So that's not the only way. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go into sit. But typically, when folks ask me about Loopy sit, I ask them to tell their dog to sit by me, and they usually have to go sit, 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 and the dog won't even sit quickly by them. So if the dog's not going to sit quick by your side, how's it ever going to sit quick out in the open or away from you, at a distance? Because after all, distance erodes control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when
go ahead.
So like Tanner does, he's not a loopy sitter, but he is a 5-step sitter.
Mm-hmm.
Blow the whistle, and boom, 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 sit.
Correct.
But he looks
so
like he's
you need to give him 2 booms, and then come with a collar correction behind it.
Okay.
Because again, one thing you'll notice, the longer you blow your whistle, the longer he'll run. Because he's waiting on you to stop blowing for him to start stopping.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's interesting you say that, because I've shortened up my whistle because this is going to sound crazy, but see that swimming pool right there in the photo? There's lifeguards.
The kids are bailing out of the water. Oh, it's time for buddy check.
So I blow a short whistle because it sounds different than those lifeguard whistles. And I note, and Tanner, he does a pretty good job. Oops, where'd you go? Oh my God, I'm by myself now. Where'd Steven go? While we're waiting on him to come back, maybe I should go to the next video. How does that sound? And I don't know which one it is, but I think it's this one. Oh, here comes Steven. Oh, you're green. There you go. There he is.
Don't know what happened there, but I was gone.
You'll have to control your diagram because that's on your end.
I
was gonna
okay. I can get that.
Well, you talk about confused. I was way more confused about when you went away on what to do.
I could hear you the whole time. So you were about to show the next video, which I'm sure some folks are ready to see.
Yeah.
I know we have been really hammering on this because, again, I mean, there's everybody, when I talk to folks about this outside of it, they're like, how are you going to keep coming up with good information? I said, I don't have to. Jake's going to supply all the material I need.
I have an infinite amount of pertinent information to discuss.
Old Cut Down said, would you address the loopy sit on a T field or otherwise? I wouldn't do it on a T field unless it was a dog in T work. I usually do it bird boy blinds. You can use bird boy blinds for a lot of problems, a lot of fixing up. And I usually do it there. Going back to T can be, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it can be kind of boring to a dog. Play that other video, Jake. This is just
figure out which one it was.
If nothing else, we finally figured out that there's a good side of a line to a blind and a bad side of a line to a blind.
Correct. Aha.
Do you want me to take away from the diagram?
I don't think so. I say leave it because I think this might actually be a better view than it's actually bigger than it is in a 3-box.
Okay.
So
I'm increasing the size of it on my screen so I can actually see too.
Let me see. You hear the swimming pool?
Yeah, and that's a great initial line. That's way better than the second one. See, your first cast left hand. That's a good sign. And you didn't give too much angle either. That was another good thing. You didn't mean to do that,
But
but
I remember when I ran this, Stephen. I remember um, him going, him staying on the
pause right
right.
there. Pause right there.
Okay, hold on.
Hit your pause. Okay. Say that again.
Okay, so I remember when he ran that third blind and he went for more water. I remember thinking to myself at that time, okay, now he's getting this. He's starting to get
Correct.
this.
And I don't know why he's getting it, because he got away from, he got away with so much on blind two. You spent the whole time on the left pretty much, and then he
Every
gave you a
time.
much better initial line. Now, part of the reason that you gave a perfectly left, and this is subconscious, but you didn't even realize it. The part of the reason that you gave such a perfect left straight up without a step is you were like, man, I don't want to cast back towards that bank because he's going to go back that
That's
way.
that's probably true. I'm
But
gonna back that up.
okay, there you go.
Okay.
Love the initial line. That was the winning side of the line. Ooh, that was textbook. You didn't step, you didn't do anything. And he said, oh, I think I'll take a little bit more. Stop
Let
right
me
there
stop
just for a
this.
second.
I'm gonna tell you, Stephen, I did cognitively recognize that I was stepping because that's not me trying to give a big cast. That's a bad habit that I've had over 40 years of duck hunting with dogs, not knowing what to do. Okay. So and I remember going back in the conversations and the lessons that we've had, I cognitively recognize the fact that I was stepping on the first in on the second blind, and I eliminated that on the third one. That's the honest truth.
Okay, so that's good. Now, that being said, going back to Tanner's mindset, he gave you a much better initial line. You gave a left hand straight up, and he crossed that line and was headed towards the bank. So that was still, he said, I can resist anything but temptation. You gave him a cast toward the bank, and he gave you more than you asked for. Even though you didn't give a big angle cast to get him that way. You gave a straight up, and he said, and he crossed that line. You can't see my arrow here, can you? My arrow is not on the paint box.
No.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so can you see my arrow now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is blind 3. He gave you a line to this side. You stopped and you gave a straight up cast, which should have took him to the line. And he willingly went across here. He gave you more angle than you needed, which if he was going the other way, I'd say that dog exhibiting a trained response. But when you gave left hand, he took the opportunity to go towards less water. You stopped him and you gave another perfect cast, a right hand straight up, which should have made him gravitate this way, at the very least to this line. But if he's really trying, over here, where'd that cast take him? Hit play.
I think, yeah. Meow.
See him hook right there? I'm going to the bank. Now watch what your next cast. Whoa, holy moly, pause that. I'll back it up just so you can see your hand.
And let me paraphrase this by saying, I honestly, I don't know what that means other than what I need to do is be more cognizant of my cast because I thought I need to go straight up
Well,
because
you were straight up on this one.
right, but on the next one, I thought I was giving a straight up, but it was an angle, and
Holy
it's
moly.
just
Not a little angle either.
okay.
A big one. Yep, that's where he bailed to the bank. And watch, hit pause on this. Woo, boy. Now
That may have been me thinking, well, that sucker's cheating to the left now. Now I need to angle him. Now I need to give him a bigger angle back. And
now
that's
let's
like you're
also
saying.
look at the evolution of the beginning of stepping here. You see how you got all your weight on your left foot? You're ready to give a step.
Oh yeah.
So So the point that I'm making right here, you should have, after your second cast and you saw him bailing, tweet and either bring him in a little bit or tweet, Nick, tweet, and give that same straight up cast and get him to give you something different. Don't let him keep making progress to that bank. Stop him there. Hold him accountable to that cast. And if he doesn't give you directional change, don't allow him to keep moving.
So
Or
I have gone from before I knew you very well, using the collar too much, to now thinking about attrition too much and not utilizing the collar like I should. I'm
well,
more scared to
attrition.
use.
I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad to hear you say that. But attrition is not beneficial if it's not leading to beneficial change. If
Mhm,
they're not changing their behavior, if they're only continuing to go farther into the ditch, you're not gaining anything.
mhm.
So your attrition is not working because he's continuing to move. You got to pull him back to that spot. And I'm telling you, when you put him back to that spot, he's going to go, oh, I know this deal. And he's going to give you a bigger directional
I
change.
know him well enough now to know, yep, you're right. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's why I want to run out there and do it right now. Okay.
Should Jake be quicker with a whistle? That's a really slippery slope, Tim. I mean, sometimes yes and sometimes no. Remember, I mean, quicker when they're on the left, especially if they're starting to cave into the hole, yes. Quicker on the right when they're choosing more water, not so much. So this is the difficult. This is one of my favorite titles of any training material, as Dave Roram said, the art and science of handling a retriever, because there is an art aspect to it. And let me delve into you more, Jake, just to help people understand. When I do seminars, I can usually tell
Sure.
somebody what they do for a living. The reason that this is a struggle for you is because you are more artistically inclined. You want to see him work with you, and for the painting that is the blind that y'all are running to come together, that you mix the paints and they get the right hue and you get the right light for your shot. It all comes together and it's a beautiful artistic thing. It's a dance. Where a lot of folks that are more engineering minded, so in school, I would say that you're probably better at language arts than you were at math. That as far as A plus B equals C don't necessarily jive with you. You want to make things work together as a cohesive unit and come together to make this thing, rather than say A stimulus would lead to B reaction to equal C result.
Mhm.
Am I off on this?
No, I think that's right. I would probably describe it maybe more as I'm a team member and not a field general.
Yeah, you're
In
not a
soccer,
dictator.
yeah, I'm not a
You're a coach
dictator
rather than a dictator.
until I get
And,
mad.
but that's the point to be made, is that this is where people struggle. Usually folks are either, they're analytical and they want these things to all hash out, or they're a lot more artistic. They want to kind of paint it more with a broad brush and goes, oh, that's good enough. And then the beauty of this is that there's a time to be strict and demand perfection, and then there's a time to understand that perfection is relative to the animal,
Mhm.
and also understand that perfection is not a perfectly straight line necessarily. It could be a directional change towards bigger water. That could be perfection. It doesn't have to be precisely perfect for a dog to give you a perfect response. If his on this drill, if his default is always left and then he all of a sudden chooses right, that is a really beautiful thing. And that's him showing that he's trying something different. He's trying to modify towards a trained response. Good on him. Good on Jake. But you can't continue to let him dive left without any kind of repercussion and then change your cast at the same time and expect for y'all to progress.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that with me is not so much that I'm soft, that I'm scared to, control the situation more than it is I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So
Well, I would
that's
say it
that's the
differently.
answer to that.
Now, before when you were quick on the collar, you thought that this was A plus B equals C, that easy. Now you're
True enough.
realizing the magnitude of the mountain that you're climbing, and it's humbled your approach so much that you don't want to use a collar correction at the wrong time. That's going to lead to an undesired response because you didn't give clear signals.
Yes,
So,
that is precise. Like I don't want to make the wrong decision at the wrong time.
all right. So to help set your mind at ease on that, especially with this dog, part of my job as a professional trainer, when we start talking about collar conditions and collar responses, you could also call that owner proofing. So that we're trying to set the dog up to, one, understand how to deal with pressure and how to give appropriate response, but also to understand that if they feel pressure and it's not clear, don't just shut down and do nothing. Try to modify and try to do something different in a different direction and start figuring it out. So to set your mind at ease with Tanner, and this is not with all dogs, and this is not what I'm striving to do as a pro, but Tanner, you could have that thing wide open and accidentally correct him, and all he's going to do is go, whoo, that hurt. Let's try something else. You're not going to shut him down off of an accidental correction, off one inappropriate correction. That's not gonna make his gingerbread house go falling down. I promise you.
Okay, I'll trust that, Stephen, because at the end of the day, as a dog owner, that's what I don't want to do. But I also, what echoes in my head a lot of times.
All right, you froze right there, Jake. The last thing we heard you say, or that I heard you say, was that what echoes in my mind most of the time, it just said host joined the broadcast. So, okay. The last thing I heard you say was what echoes in my mind.
What echoes in my mind is when you told me, I think the first day you brought Tanner to me at Prairie Rock was you cannot undo what you've done. So I'm okay with that, but I'm still a little nervous. Like I don't feel like I'm carrying a wine glass around over, jumping logs with a wine glass. But I also feel like, man, you know, I don't want to be that guy that's doing something wrong because I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to do it severe enough when I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm more cautious and careful about how I handle this because I realize I don't know what I'm doing.
When I think also there that's why you want to rip the headset off and run out every time we start talking about it, because it's getting more clear every time.
Yes, very true. Very true.
All right. So I'm going to keep talking you through this blind. If you want to keep,
Is it so my screen is blue where that hold on one second. Showing screen. Okay, now here we go. I think we're going
you're
to
good to
start
go.
all. Yeah, I think so. So this is number 3 because there's 2
Yep.
bumpers on the ground.
So your first cast is going to be a left straight up, and he's going to give you too much angle.
Let me okay.
And that's
I'm gonna
okay.
okay, but let me ask you something. Did I cast before he was fully pivoted all the way around, and he was still he was still like turned that way or that way when I gave him the cast? Should I have waited a little bit longer to give him that cast so he was fully engaged, looking straight at me?
You'll have to replay it, because for me, I feel this type stuff as much as I watch it, and nothing jumped out at me.
Okay,
With
watch
that
this.
being said, let me check it again.
Tanner, no.
No, he had squared up to you.
Okay.
It couldn't have been any earlier than that, and you could make him wait a little longer. That was a little quicker. And here it starts drifting left. See, I caught him right there. So you see how much longer you let him go?
Mm-hmm.
That should have been the same straight up cast as before. So you got a response out of it. But how much did you get? Did you get the true cast? No, because if you got the true cast, he'd ended up down here on 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you gave a big angle to get back on line for number 3. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming he's online here because you're not doing anything else.
You saw my body language. I let my tension down because he was on the line.
Exactly. And this is the point that I make to owners all the time when they're getting ready to run their dogs at competitions. I'm like, judges are realizing what you're doing. They are reading your body language. They're not meaning to do it. It's just a natural thing. But you're seeing this in yourself. You're seeing that you don't realize what cast you're giving all the time. And you're also seeing when you relax.
My
And that was a
shoulders
great,
go up when I'm nervous, and I drop my shoulders when everything's going well.
and that was a great, I would have said, had you given the straight up cast and gotten that result, if you didn't have to give that big angle to get back online, I would say you could not have done that blind any better. You as a handler could not have done it any better because you got more angle out of less, where you got less angle out of more cast. So can't hold you accountable to that, Jake, because we hadn't talked about it in this level of depth, but now I can. Warning.
Yeah, I'm good, man. You want I can. I mean, there's nothing left in that one.
If you got one more, do it.
Yeah, I got one more. I got two more actually. Figure out which one this
Who'd
is.
have ever thought we'd have been cramming in video at the end of 2 hours?
I know, man.
You have so many deep-seated issues. That was blind one.
Okay, that was number 2. So
Yeah, I was looking at the bumpers on the ground.
wait, we want to go to number 3.
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5.
That looks like you're kicking them more to the right. You also looked, one of the things I noticed is you looked a lot more comfortable lining up, getting your initial lines. And you're actually picking the side where the dog has the option to run back towards the bank without being blocked off. So that was kudos to you as well.
Wait, say that again.
Your blinds are going from left to right, so you don't have the option. I think this is 3. You don't have the option to block them off the bank. You know, if you were running right to left with a left-sided dog, you could block them away from the old piles. And you're running it from the side that's, you know, takes more that takes more discipline on his part. Right there. See, he pushed for more water. And that, again, is, I'm saying, be careful to push the line between more water and running the bank, which I don't think he did. Really nice cast. Really nice cast. See, you gave a little more. It wasn't much, but stay with that same one.
And that's I don't think I'm trying to do that as much as I probably just got lazy, I guess, with my cast.
There's a big one. I think it's safe to say we're going to see the same thing, and we'll see a huge difference in your next application. See, it keeps getting bigger. Starting step. You're getting in the ditch. You're not staying on the road. See? It's like Groundhog Day.
Here comes a big over. Like,
oh, yeah.
Now I'm going to be freaking doing this.
Exactly. You're giving an over to get an angle back. How do you get a straight over now?
I've wasted all my cast. Now how the hell am I going to get back?
You'll never get there. That's the point that I'm making. Now, he gave you evidently an over somewhere and you were able to reset, but that's the point. You're getting it now. You're starting to understand why we're training for more angle out of less cast.
He's right left of that sign. There he comes out.
I saw. I got him.
So
you made it back to the line with that big cast, and it wasn't a bad ending, but you saw how you continue to get more and more in the ditch, and he did recover for you. But when you start holding him accountable to these casts, all of a sudden he's going to start giving you more angle out of that right hand cast, and you're going to have a harder time getting a straight back. And it's all going. And then all of a sudden you're going to be giving left hand straight backs, and he's going to be pushing. You're going to be giving left hand cast on this. On, let's say you're on blind forward and you're giving left hand cast, and he's pushing off and trying to stay in the water. Good
Distance
on it.
erodes control, right?
Distance erodes control, and but these drills lead to greater skill and understanding. Him understanding where's safe, where's not, where's natural, where's unnatural, where's trained, where's untrained. Holy moly, that's 2 hours,
Two
Jake.
hours, and we literally didn't even have to go to 4 and 5 because we were still stuck on two.
Like I said, you've got so much ground to make up. But again, I say this over and over again, and I promise you, all the folks that are sitting at home can relate. Doing in this way, progressing through it this way, and helping you get a greater understanding. There's a lot of stuff that I'm starting to say over and over again, and you're not the only one that's saying, "Man, why didn't he say that before? Why didn't he say that then?" Go back and watch this stuff. You'll see I did, but you weren't able to. And this is what's so great for me about having this stuff where folks can go back and watch, is that you can go back and see I'm repeating myself and I'm saying the same thing in a little bit different way because I'm trying to frame it in a way for you to understand it, for that light bulb to go off for you. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have clients turn around and say, "Why did you never tell me about this? Why didn't you ever explain this?" And I go, "I did. I did it so many times. You just weren't ready to hear it, and you sure weren't ready to understand it. I was saying it, but I was pouring water in a full glass."
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the whatever thing we talked about prior to that, or yeah, I mean,
Correct.
you can only absorb. So I mean, everybody absorbs at different paces, and everyone absorbs at different levels. And this is my absorption rate.
So I think it's pretty self-explanatory what you got as far as continuing on this drill. I want to see this with a better application on your part. Um, and we'll talk about some other things as we're going forward. I have some other plans on evolving this thing, but I can't even evolve it yet. You're not ready to move. You're not ready to move on. You're not ready to
Sure.
grow, grasshopper.
So the next show will be a repeat of this drill at a different location. And
With a better Jake application.
do you want me the next week? Do you want to show the video that I posted yesterday or day before yesterday, or do I need to go out and do this again? Because I'm going to go out and do this again anyway.
What you posted now is a moot question. It's a moot point. Your second drill was better, but it was still the same poor application of casting. So
Okay.
that video is shot. Now you got to make another one.
Okay. No problem. I mean, I'm going to go do this anyway with what I've learned, what I've absorbed so far, and we'll go from there.
All right, guys, y'all got 30 seconds if you got a lingering question because it's
You
past
better
my
shoot them up
bedtime.
there. Yep.
Um, I appreciate y'all. Kylie Moses, it's impressive how y'all stick with this and hang in
Yeah.
there.
Thank you
I know
guys
there's a
so
lot of
much.
things I wouldn't be doing this on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, but that's
I mean,
just
they're just people that are either, interested in it or want to learn the way I am. And, that's what this is all about. We really appreciate it. I think we had 40 something people sticking around for most of this at one time. And, you know, thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you for your time, because I know your time is valuable. Um, and I can't wait to get out. I wish I had more daylight right now because I'd probably go out and bring it right now. But again, this is the Retriever Connection with Stephen Durrance and Jake Latondras. Sorry we didn't get further along, but we covered a lot of ground, and it's always very valuable. I come out of it each time thinking, I've progressed a little bit more, and I can give Tanner better attention next time, and start progressing. You want to say bye, Walker? Come here, say bye. No, okay. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. Thanks again, Stephen. I will be sending you a video here within the next 48 hours.
sounds great. Night
All right.
Walker.
Say bye. Say bye, Walker. Say bye. See you guys. Thank you.